皆さん、こんにちは。ただいまから日立グループカンパニーズ・イン・ノース・アメリカ、JCCI および、日本クラブ共催の、日立が考えるサステナブルなビジネス変革のウェビナーを開催いたします。本日進行を務めさせていただきます JCCI および日本クラブの事務所長の前田です。よろしくお願いいたします。今回は経営層の皆さんに日立グループの DX の中心となる日立ベンタラとグローバルロジックより自社の DX 戦略検討のご参考となるお客様の課題解決のための DX 取り組み事例をご紹介いたします。本日のゲストスピーカーは日立ベンタラのダイレクターであられる能田大志さんとグローバルロジックのチーフマーケティングオフィサーでいらっしゃるアリア・バリラニさんをお迎えしています。能田さんは製造業向けのシステム導入に関わり、ERP、デジタル、クラウド、IoT など幅広い知見と経験を有する。そして21年より米国にて日系企業向けのビジネス推進責任者として活躍されています。バリラインさんはシマンテック、ヒューレット・パッカード、バリタス、マーキュリー・インテラクティブ、インフォブロックスなどテック業界で20年以上のマーケティング経験を持たれていて、カスタマーセントリックなアプローチを駆使してグローバルロジックのマーケティングを今リードされています。本ウェビナーの QA セッションについてはレクチャーの後に予定していますけれども、質問はプレゼンテーションの最中でも遠慮なくいただければと思います。質問のある方は画面下にある QA ボタンですね。Q&A ボタンを押していただき、タイプしてご記入してください。時間に限りがありますけれども、できるだけお答えいただけると思います。今回は日本語と英語でプレゼンテーションが行われますけれども、AI 翻訳のワードリーによるそれぞれの字幕サービスをご用意しています。CC というクローズドキャプションボタン、右下ですね。で、英語、日本語訳のサブタイトルが出てまいりますので、どうぞ必要に応じてご利用ください。Auto-generated English interpretation will be available via Wordly services during the Japanese session and English session too. Please select the closed caption button located on the bottom of your screen to access. それでは、能田さん、バリラインさん、どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。
はい、皆様、こんにちは。ただいまご紹介に預かりました日立バンタラの野田と申します。本日は日立の考えるサステナブルなビジネス変革と題しまして、私、日立バンタラの野田より日立製作所を含む日立グループがお客様と手掛けた事例をご紹介し、またグローバルロジックのパラよりグローバルロジックのデジタルエンジニアリング事例をご紹介させていただきます。さて、2020年からのコロナ禍を契機に、企業の活動は急激な変化を強いられています。働き方においては、3密回避を前提としたリモート活用から、ニューノーマルではリモートとリアルのバランスした働き方が進んできていると考えています。同じように、販売ではリアルからオンラインが主軸に、サプライチェーンでは分断リスクを経て、調達先、生産拠点の分散、最適化の加速、ものづくりにおいては、バリューチェーンの全体最適化、DX 加速がさらに進むと考えています。コロナのリスクに加え、地政学、災害リスクも増加しています。ある調査によると、政治経済の不確実性指数は約3倍、世界での災害発生頻度は約4倍に増大しているとのことです。このように、サプライチェーンの分断リスクが増大、将来の予測が困難なVUCA時代が到来しており、サプライチェーンなどレジリエンシーの重要性が増大していると考えています。このような変化やリスクに対して、サステナブルな社会を実現するために、人的資本を充実させることで、 顧客と社会に価値を提供することが求められていると考えております。脱炭素や資源循環、社会インフラの維持、安全で快適な移動、健康寿命の延伸など、サステナブルな社会に貢献するような価値の提供が求められています。日立グループとしても、こうしたテーマに対して、記載のような取り組みで貢献していきたいと考えています。ご説明してきましたような予測を超えた急激な変化が次々と訪れる時代に、より重要なのは、誰も経験したことのないような変化を敏感に捉えて、誰よりも早く動き出すことです。デジタル技術は、過去の知恵を蓄積するだけでなく、変化に対応する新たな知恵を獲得する道具としてこそ、その進化が発揮されます。また、データの理解を起点として、分析や処理、伝達の技術を駆使して、柔軟に対応策を立案します。しかし、斬新な施策も社会に受け入れられなくては現実の力を発揮しません。対応策を社会に即した形で実行するには、現場の経験値が必要です。デジタル技術を活用して現実の世界の変化に素早く対応していくには、IT の製品やサービスを採用するだけでなく、現場を知る人とデジタルを知る人の協力関係が重要なのです。協力して力を合わせて価値を作り出す。この関係を日立では競争と呼んでいます。このデジタルトランスフォーメーションを加速するための日立の先進的なデジタル技術を活用したソリューション、サービス、テクノロジーの総称をルマーダと呼んでいます。ルマーダはお客様の経営課題の理解から始まり、解決方法を設計して実装し、そして運用保守をしていく、こういったサイクルでお客様の価値を高める事業だと考えております。このサイクルを AI のようなデジタル技術をうまく活用して回していって、このサイクル全体で価値を高めていくものだと考えております。デザイン思考で課題の解決方法を導くデジタルエンジニアリング、データを収集分析する IoT システムを構築するシステムインテグレーション、そしてネットにつながる製品を導入し、遠隔、自動運転で運用コストを下げていくコネクテッドプロダクト、さらには予兆診断で保守コストを下げるようなマネージドサービス、こういった4つの事業でルマーダ事業は構成されています。ルマーダ事業の一例として、製造プロセスの革新の事例をご紹介させていただきます。ここでのサイクルは、製造プロセスの課題をお客様と一緒に分析するところから始まります。次に、ロボットや IT 機器からデータを収集する IoT ソリューションを構築します。日立ではこれを IoT コンパスと名付けていまして、これを使って生産ボトルネックの解消や予兆保全による稼働率向上などのメリットをお客様に提供していきます。自動車業界から競争を始め、さまざまな業界へと拡大していきたいと考えております。こうしたルマーダの事業コンセプトをお客様に提供していく際に、私たちは際の課題を意識して活動しています。際の課題は縦、横、場、それぞれの領域に存在します。まず、縦では、経営と現場の際をデジタルでつなぐことで、経営者は現場の状況を理解し、より迅速な判断を行うことができます。次に、横では、サプライチェーン上のサプライヤー、製造、流通、市場といった際をデジタルでつなぐことで、全体最適による効率化が図れます。最後に、場ですが、これは異業種間がデジタルでつながる場です。新しい場が生まれることで、新しい価値創造の機会を提供することができます。このように、激変する市場で顕在化する際の課題、これをつなぐことでお客様にとっての価値が生まれる。 トータルシームレスソリューションで対応してまいります。それでは、ここから具体的な事例をご紹介させていただきます。最初は、サプライチェーンをグローバルにつないだ事例です。右側の緑色の枠内をご覧ください。代金様の多様に変化するバリューチェーンへの対応、計画立間の自動化により、従業員の働き方改革にも貢献しています。代金様の科学事業において、グローバルに5カ所の製造拠点、9カ所の販売拠点をつなぎ、需要変動に即応する生産・販売最適化計画の立案・実行支援ソリューションを提供しています。スライドの左側を見ていただき、SCM 最適化シミュレーションを活用することで、従来の約60倍の製造・販売施策のパターンを短時間で提示することが可能となり、導入効果として意思決定にかかる時間を 95% 短縮することができました。これにより、入れ替え製造によるボトルネックの解消、余力活用による高収益品の増産を可能にするなど、事業の KPI 最大化に向けたサプライチェーンの最適化が可能となりました。次に、需要変化に即応する生産最適化の事例です。食品分野の現場と経営、サプライチェーンをつなぐ事例で、日例様の需要変化に合わせた生産体制、環境負荷の低減に貢献しています。スライドの左側に示したように、AI と数理最適化技術を組み合わせた日立独自のシステムを導入することで、1工場あたり最大16兆通りある生産計画から、最適化を従来の10分の1程度の時間に短縮して自動立案することができるようになりました。スライドの中央は、物流を担う日例ロジグループ様の冷凍設備での取り組みです。プロダクト、OT、IT、クラウドサービス基盤を含め、日立グループの技術、サービスを統合した冷凍設備の運用、保全効率化ソリューションも同時に提供しています。3つ目は、バリューチェーン全体のデータを一元的に管理し、異なる企業がつながる場を提供する事例です。医薬品卸のアルフレッサ様などとの競争により、日本国内初の再生医療製品のバリューチェーン全体の細胞トレース情報を統合管理するプラットフォームを提供することで、厳格な品質管理とトレーサビリティへの対応、サプライチェーンの分析やシミュレーションを実現します。再生医療分野においては、複数企業、機関の間で検体、個体識別情報などを連携し、製品の品質を担保することが大変重要であり、すべてのステークホルダーが利用可能なこの共通のサービス基盤が異なる企業、機関の間に存在する際をつないでいきます。4つ目は、工場経営、働き方のデジタルトランスフォーメーションを実現する事例です。こちらは、サントリー食品インターナショナル様との取り組みで、ボトル1本ごとのトレーサビリティによる商品のさらなる安全・安心、進化し続ける次世代ファクトリーを実現しています。各ラインから大量のデータを収集して、多様な形式のデータを統合・集約、そのデータをトレーサビリティ、工場データ見える化に活用。またこれをもとに安心・安全の追求、働き方改革にもつながる全体最適支援の IoT 基盤を実現しています。さらに、フィジカルレイヤーでも、高速で特殊印字が可能なマーキングシステムと、小型無人搬送ロボット、ラックルといったプロダクトにより、システム高度化にも貢献しています。5つ目は、ロボティクス SI とデジタルの融合についての事例です。日立のグループ会社である JR オートメーションでは、北米のロールスロイス様との航空機部品の加工において、ERP や MES と連携したデジタル活用による大規模なロボット加工設備の自動化、最適化のソリューションを提供しています。右下の取り組み体制に 記載の通り、シーメンスや ABB ともパートナー体制を組み、JR オートメーションがプロジェクト全体を取りまとめて実現しています。ここまで日立製作所および日立グループがお客様と行ってきたビジネス変革の事例をご紹介いたしました。ご紹介した事例も含め、最初にご説明したルマーダのサイクルの中で、お客様との競争の取り組みで一緒に経営課題を議論することで解決方法を生み出してきており、右上のデジタルエンジニアリングがビジネス変革の入り口として重要であると考えております。ここからはデジタルエンジニアリングを中心にお客様のビジネス変革に取り組んでまいりましたグローバルロジックの事例をご説明させていただきます。Arya, I will hand it to you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Noda-san. And I first want to thank Mr. Maeda, JCCI, and the Nippon Club for giving us an opportunity to be with you today. And thank you for hosting us. And I want to thank the audience for taking your time to be with us. Hopefully, you will find this information helpful and informative. I apologize, my Japanese is not so good as your English, so I'm going to present in English, and hopefully you'll get the gist of what I'm trying to express. My name is Arya Berirani. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of GlobalLogic, and I'm coming to you from San Jose, California today to talk a little bit about digital transformation, and specifically the digital technology and the digital engineering of redesigning and innovating around digital products. Noda-san will be advancing slides for me. So if I can go to the next slide, please. So GlobalLogic joined the Hitachi family just about a year ago. In fact, it was July 14th of last year of 2021 when the acquisition of GlobalLogic by Hitachi was finalized, and we became a Hitachi group company. Hitachi understood early on the importance of digital engineering as a mechanism for transforming businesses, and their attempt to bring that kind of capability into the portfolio came through the GlobalLogic acquisition. So we are a leader in digital product engineering, and it's very important here that when we talk about digital transformation, you could talk about business transformation, you could talk about technology transformation, you could talk about talent transformation. There are so many facets to digital transformation. We come at it from the product perspective, which is the experience and the technology that your customers are interacting with your products. And so we're a leader in this space. We have 25,000 employees around the world that are just focused on design and engineering and data. And that's what we do. We're in the center of design, engineering, and data, and bring this powers together to help create innovative products, platforms, and digital experiences for our customers. So that's a little bit about us and where we come from. Next slide, please. So for about a decade now, we've been talking about digital transformation. And again, I want to make sure that we focus on the technology portion of digital transformation and how it impacts the products that your customers are interacting with. And so why did we engage in this? What was the promise? Well, the promise was to create new business models and new revenue streams. It was very much focused on engagement and monetization. It was around reinventing and modernizing existing products, bringing together physical and virtual worlds, creating new customer experiences because more and more of the customer experiences were being driven by digital. It was about harnessing data in a new way and making that data work for us, as well as inform our decisions and help our products and our customers have better experiences. And most recently, what we've seen, and I'm very happy to see, that digital transformation and the capabilities in digital are being used more and more towards a more sustainable future, a future that has to do with more sustainability, more equitability, and inclusiveness. And so I think in the next, maybe the last 10 years of digital, we saw a lot about monetization and how can we create new revenue models and better customer engagement. I think we're going to see the next 5 years to 10 years of digital really be around how do we make this whole thing more sustainable and better for society. On the right-hand side of this chart, we look at the different players that are involved in this world. So if you look at the industry incumbents, these are brands that are kind of struggling. They have legacy products that they're trying to modernize, and they're running into an innovation gap versus the digital natives or the disruptors. These industry incumbents usually don't have as much in terms of speed and nimbleness, as well as in creating the right experiences as the digital natives, whose products, solutions, platforms are born in digital. So the easiest way to kind of reflect on this in the real world is Uber versus your traditional taxi company. Uber was born in digital, and their engagement model was very much created based on that. And all of the other traditional transportation companies are trying to catch up. So that's one of the areas where we help clients, is around this innovation gap. Let's go to the next slide, please. So when we talk about product transformation and digital transformation from a product perspective, I want to kind of give you a little view of how we look at that. We look at this in layers like an onion. From the center, which is the core product, it could be a physical product. The first things that we see is that the first steps in transformation is to take that product and augment it digitally, building better software into the product, making it smarter, making it so that it connects better to the users. And this kind of becomes the beginnings of transforming the business model around the product. On the right, the logos that you see are companies that we have worked with in some of these areas, making their core products better. The next phase is digital augmentation, which is, can we create new interfaces and touch points to take that core product and improve the interaction model? So one example of that is a publishing company like The Economist, where they took their traditional print or web-enabled publishing mechanisms, and they put it into mobile applications that would work on any type of screen, and allowing their subscribers to interact more with the content, and they would capture new data along those interaction models. The next phase is digitally enabled services and bringing that physical and digital together to provide a really great solution for customers. So this is more than just making the product smarter, but now it's about connecting the product and combining that with a platform that enables a new service model. So one example I can use here is a client of ours, Hilti. They're in the construction tools business. You can't get any more physical than a construction tools company. They literally have drills and materials to build buildings and dig dig holes and things like that. But they made these products smarter. They connected them, so the first two phases, and then they put it on a platform, which then allowed their users to be able to do something much better with the data, like predictive maintenance and being able to charge with construction tools as a service rather than selling individual products. So this creates a new way of interacting with the users in a way that now opens up doors to new business models. And then the last and probably the most sophisticated is creating a digital ecosystem. This is now taking and creating a platform where the product is basically embedded in the ecosystem, and your suppliers, your partners, and customers all interact. They plug into that platform. It's an ecosystem that allows for commerce, it allows for service, it allows for delivery of the product experience. And a lot of companies that we know, and obviously everyone has worked with. Apple's a great example of that, with everything that they do, from the telephone to the watch to the computers and iPads, all connecting to the Apple ecosystem, allowing for content consumption, family sharing, and you name it. Throughout all of this, you have to have a consistent expression of experience and the brand. And I think this is really important as you look at going from core product to the digital ecosystem. How does the brand of your company come through and express itself consistently so that the users are always in context? This is important. And so it goes beyond just the technology. It goes into notions of design and so experience and brand, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. By the way, I want to encourage you all to please make this as interactive as possible. There's a Q&A panel on the bottom of your screen, excuse me. You can feel free to click on that and ask any questions of our speakers. Mr. Noda and I would be delighted to take questions. Let's go to the next slide, please. So how do we do all of this? If you look at it, it's all about building frictionless experiences and creating greater innovation. And when we look at this, there's kind of a timeless model of what we call the digital product lifecycle. And it starts with the notion of concept and design. Again, I'm not talking about management consultants coming in and coming up with your next business model, but I'm talking about the actual digital product experience. And so here, where we start to use human-centered design techniques to understand how can we create that product, that platform, or that experience that really does what we want it to and is intuitive, it's friction-free, enables the user to flawlessly kind of go through the entire service experience from beginning to end. From the design phase, you go into actually engineering these digital products, and this is where GlobalLogic plays, the actual design and engineering space. And so now we're seeing more cloud native version of services being created. And how we do it, products were developed through these very traditional waterfall methodologies. Now what we're using is agile methodologies with minimum viable product, MVPs. And digital engineering enables this. It takes software type disciplines and brings it to traditional products. And this is the way that you iteratively build, release, and improve products. At the same time, through our partnerships with companies like Hitachi Vantara, we're also there's always a modernization of infrastructure, apps, and data that's required through this process, especially if you're building a new service. And so you have to look at the infrastructure implications. A lot of times, what we run into with our clients is that what keeps them from being able to realize transformation is not necessarily any lack of ideas or lack of vision. It usually has to do with their legacy systems not coming together, or their legacy systems not being modern enough to be able to handle it. And I can tell you one example of a company we worked with is a traditional 50-year-old plus publishing company, $9 billion in revenue. They had acquired so many different companies. They probably had 9 different digitized content service platforms for the businesses that they had acquired. And so to try to tie all of that together into a single, let's say, learning as a service model is very difficult. Managing the legacy is a really challenging thing. And so you need the right kind of capabilities, know-how, and partners to be able to help you do that. The next phase is the ongoing management of the operations. So, this is now you're in the software world. Most of the key interactions with your users are happening in software on a platform. So this is an ongoing management, what we call from edge to core to cloud. And so ongoing operations and DevOps then becomes important. And then lastly, this kind of the cyclical loop around optimizing, leveraging data. This is really amazing. All of these new applications create massive amounts of data exhaust, as we call them. This data could be used to improve the product, to understand how your customers are using the product, how you can continue to evolve the product so that it makes a difference. But it also creates a whole new different opportunity to build new business models through this data. So imagine how Apple went from being a smartwatch company to being a healthcare device company. Now the data that they're getting through the smartwatch can be used to monitor your sleep or monitor your health and your heartbeat and so on. So it enables Apple, as an example, to now go into entirely different adjacencies because now they're using the digital platforms and the data to create new opportunities. So this is kind of the cycle that we talk through, and collectively between GlobalLogic and Hitachi, we're able to deliver this to our clients. Next slide, please. So this whole thing is very complicated. When we look at digital engineering and digital transformation, there is an orchestration of many, many technology layers and systems that have to come together to create this intuitive and seamless user experience. So it goes everything from what we call chip to cloud to crowd type of engineering, where you're literally working at the chip level, putting software at the silicon. If you think about the financial services space, your transactions now on the credit card, there's actually a physical chip that enables you to be able to do that kind of transaction. And there's all sorts of cryptography and security that has to be built into it at the hardware level, at the chip level. Then you go to the board, which puts all of these chips together. So how do we get the OSs on those boards and device, and then connectivity, and then to the carriers that actually provide these services, connect the communications, and eventually take these into the cloud. So when we talk about our digital engineering, it's around being able to connect the dots through all of these different elements, from very chip all the way to the cloud. And then if you look at the user's experience coming in from the right side of the picture, it's about how do they then express, and experience the technology. What's the user experience like, and how does it tie to the clients and the back end systems to bring this all together? And so this is what we do, and it's not trivial. And many companies are really great at this, and many of them need help. But we know that all of them need to do more of this in order for their products and services to really connect. And the last thing that I again mentioned that we shouldn't forget is when you look at the brand, how does the brand get expressed through this and ultimately to the user experience? You can't forget that, because most of the clients now are experiencing your brand through digital channels only, not the physical ones. So very important to think through. Next slide, please. So when we talked about brand, I think this is an important point. We realized back in probably 2010, 2011, that in order for us to build and help our clients build the best next generation digital experiences, that we needed some capability in user experience and customer experience design. And so we acquired a company by the name of Method, which is a GlobalLogic company, a part of Hitachi as well, which is a strategic design firm. This was a game changer for us, because what we realized is that most of the interactions, or all of the digital interactions, happen on some form of a screen now, or some kind of a product. And as our CTO says, it doesn't matter how good the technology is if you're building the wrong product and if you're not connecting with your audience the right way. And the pictures you see here are some of the companies that we have worked with, not only building the user experience, but also helping them create a coherent brand experience through all the omni-channel digital channels. So Method, if you go to the next slide, as an example, did some really great work. Notice on, if you could go to the next slide, please. Did some great work with a brand that we all know. It's a well-known brand around the world. We worked with the world's largest restaurant chain, McDonald's, to envision their new experiences for their customer. When we met McDonald's over a decade ago, they probably had around the world some 40, 50 different digital applications, different kinds of mobile tools that, different, and there was one invented for, every country practically. It was very fragmented. And the brand was really, I think, suffering through this because there was no single service model that they were working with. They also wanted to enhance the in-store experience. So we started working with them. What you see on the chart on the right is kind of that customer journey. And we helped them design the interaction models and the flow of the kiosks, as well as their mobile applications and some of the other technology pieces like parts of their website, so that they all kind of were consistent in their experience or in their flow. And one of the things that McDonald's found out was they were one of the early adopters of this kiosk model. And I'm sure, you know, if you've experienced these in an airport somewhere traveling, one of the things that we found out through our user-centered design experience was that when people stand in line and they're talking to an associate, they're always looking behind them because someone's waiting. And so they tend to rush through, they order more quickly because they feel like, you know, they're holding up the line. And so by going to the kiosk and having multiple kiosks as well as, you know, associates, that takes some of the pressure. So what McDonald's experienced was that the amount of time a user would spend on the kiosk was longer, and the cart size was also bigger. And so they were getting a little bit more revenue through that channel. What you see in the lower right is a picture of our designers in our New York studio. If you're in the East Coast, I think the Hitachi team would be thrilled, or we would be thrilled to have you take a tour of our New York studio where you can see multiples of these examples of how digital experiences come to life. And so if you're ever in New York, let us know. We'll walk you through. Let's go to the next slide, please. So that was a McDonald's experience, very successful. We also started working with them on the design of, by the way, the delivery, the car delivery, as well as the new next generation drive-through experience. And so these are things that are coming. Of course, when they were thinking about delivery, Uber Eats and, you know, DoorDash and those kinds of companies were not on the scene yet. So now a lot of their delivery has been kind of disintermediated by third-party companies. Hilti is a great example on the kind of physical construction. I think this is a really wonderful traditional legacy product that became smarter. They started building, and this is a great IoT example, by the way, of, you know, the kind of the connected devices all being smart and interacting with mobile applications and being smart in terms of predictive maintenance and connectedness. From safety perspective, from a security perspective, knowing where all the devices are on a job site, all of these things became enhanced through digital capabilities. And now Hilti is now taken that to the latest and best new level, which is creating the construction services or construction tools as a service, where companies can now go on to the Hilti platform and they can plug into the ecosystem and basically get all the things that they want in a single as a service paid by subscription model, which is what we see everything moving to. And that's what digital enables, right? Which is these annuity service streams that you couldn't get when you were selling discrete products. And then the next slide, please. And this last one's a great consumer example. We've been working with a company called Sleep Number now for a few years out of Southern California. And this is a fantastic example of not only making the interaction model kind of the next generation smart bed that allows you to tune in, you know, your own, you know, comfort levels, but also this transition of data into new spaces. So we're working on the embedded firmware on the server, on the sensors and the connectivity to the cloud and the data analytics. And this is really interesting because imagine how much Sleep Number is getting in terms of information about the sleep quality of their customers. And this information is all being loaded into the cloud where they are now able to analyze it. And this data can be used in multiple different ways. They're looking at using this sleep data, you know, in terms of doing something good for society, which is how do we get better sleep? How do we become healthier through sleep? So it can be used for those types of services, but it can also be used for monetization, which is, you know, can we use sleep data and, you know, the bed becomes kind of your next generation healthcare device, kind of like the Apple Watch that we talked about. It opens up new potential revenue streams and business models for Sleep Number. So this is a perfect example of a physical, you know, product, a bed or a mattress in this case, and, you know, how it can enable better interaction as well as new business models. So hopefully you got a good idea of what we're talking about when we talk about kind of this transformation of digital products, what it takes underneath to do it, the different models and what it enables. If you go to the next slide, Norio, this is my last one, I believe. We're thrilled to be with you, and we're thrilled to be part of Hitachi. And we believe that with Hitachi now, our canvas just got bigger in terms of the kind of good that we can bring to society using digital capabilities and digital engineering capabilities. Not only do things that are good for the earth, good for people around sustainability, but also create new opportunities around IoT, around automation, to help our clients and take their products and services and solutions to the next level. So thank you for your time. We'd be delighted to take any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aya. はい、ここまで日立グループおよびグローバルロジックのビジネス変革事例をご紹介させていただきました。最後に1枚だけ北米における日立グループのご紹介をさせていただきます。本日ご紹介させていただいたインダストリーや IT に関わる事業だけでなくですね、オートモーティブ、エナジー、モビリティといったそれぞれの事業とも連携しながら、現場のナレッジを IT、デジタルを使ってお客様と一緒に変革していきたいと考えております。はい、以上で本日のご紹介終わります。ご清聴ありがとうございました。
どうもありがとうございます。では質問を受けたいと思うんですけども、皆さんの方から特にまだ質問が上がってないんで、じゃあ私の方から前半の日立さんの事例でお客さんの現場にさまざまな課題に対するソリューションっていうのをご紹介いただきましたけれども、こういうソリューションに取り組まれようとしたきっかけというか、モチーフフォースは一体何なんでしょう。
はい、ありがとうございます。私、野田の方から、回答させていただきます。前半にご紹介した事例につきましては、それぞれのお客様と議論をさせていただいてですね、現場の中のいろいろな課題の中からディスカッションの中で一番コアになる課題を議論してですね、そこからまずやっていきましょうということで、優先順位をつけて対策をしていったというところでございます。
はい、ありがとうございます。マクドナルドの例っておっしゃってましたけど、これはグローバルロジックは何をするのか、両者の役割分担とかコラボレーションのやり方っていうのを、もしよかったら少し、これはどちらかというと、アリアさんかな。
そうですね。はい。
はい。
Yeah, could you share the role and responsibility for McDonald's case? How method collaborate with McDonald's? Yeah, you are on mute.
Thank you. So we created a design studio specifically for the McDonald's project. This was a multi-year engagement, and our role was primary design principal for two key areas, and then we went into new ones as well. One was the kiosk user experience design and interaction design. So the whole flow of the kiosk. So we were the designers of that. And then we were also responsible for all of the brand expression. So Method did all of the branding work, which is how does McDonald's brand identity, voice, tone come through the digital product. We actually did not do the engineering for that project. That was a design only project for us. We also did not build the physical artifact. The kiosk physical design and fabrication was done with another partner. So we were the design principal on that project. And I would say the total time that we spent with McDonald's was more than 5 years. And we built our studio. The work was done out of New York. And we built a mini studio in what McDonald's called the McDonald's Customer Experience Center in Chicago. And so we put resident designers there, and it was a long-term project for us.
Okay. Thank you very much. あとはもう一つっていうことですけど、日立さんがこうやっていろいろな取り組みをされているってことはよく分かったんですけれども、そういう各社の困りごとに対応されているものっていうのが、その汎用性があるのかというところはどうなんでしょう。
はい、本日ご紹介した事例についてはですね、先ほど申し上げた通り、お客様の課題からスタートさせていただいているので、その時点では一点物になっておりますけれども、ソリューションそのものをですね、部品群ですとか、先ほど申し上げたルマーダのラインナップとして整備させていただいておりまして、それぞれの他のお客様にもニーズをカスタマイズしながら、ソリューションサービスとして汎用的に、あるいは個別のお客様の事情に合わせて提供させていただきたいというふうに考えております。
はい、わかりました。それではそろそろお時間でもございますので、こんなところで、エンディング、したいと思います。今日はお二人どうも本当にありがとうございました。バイラインさん、野田さん、本当にありがとうございます。Thank you very much, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you. ありがとうございました。
これをもちまして、日立グループカンパニーズ・イン・ノース・アメリカと JCC および日本クラブ共催のウェビナーを、終了いたします。本日のご説明いた資料、先ほどもちょっと、ご請求があったんですけれども、資料の請求先や講師の連絡先につきましては、この後に参加者の皆さんに送信予定のメールがございますので、こちらの方に記載しております。また、本日の動画についても、編集にちょっと時間をいただきますが、準備ができ次第皆さんの方にお知らせしまして、当方の YouTube チャンネル、JCCI の YouTube チャンネルの方へアップしたいと思います。また、これは逆にお願いですけども、簡単なアンケートをご用意しておりますので、こちらにもぜひご協力いただけたらということで、これはZoom 退出時に出てまいります。よろしくお願いいたします。それではどうぞ皆さん、COVID-19 の時期でありますけれども、ぜひ引き続き安全にお過ごしをいただければと思います。たくさんの皆さんにお集まりいただきました。今日はありがとうございました。それでは失礼いたします。
ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。